The crystal wine glasses clinked as Theodore raised his hand for a toast. Another Ward family dinner, another opportunity to remind me I didn't belong. I shifted uncomfortably in my designer dress, the one Roy insisted I wear to at least look the part. My name is Maria, and 3 years ago I married into what Boston's elite call old money. Tonight, like every month, I'm seated at an immaculate mahogany table, surrounded by people who see me as nothing more than a charity case their precious Roy picked up. "To family," Theodore announced, his voice carrying that distinctive Ward authority, "and to Roy's latest acquisition, bringing in record profits." Everyone beamed at my husband. I took a small sip, fighting the urge to drain the glass. "Speaking of acquisitions," Chiara chimed in, her perfectly manicured hand gesturing toward me. "Maria, how's that little online thing of yours going? Still selling social media tips?" I forced a smile. "It's a digital marketing consultancy, actually, and it's—" "Oh, that's right," she interrupted, turning to her mother. "Mum, remember when I tried selling makeup online in college?" So cute how these things never really work out. Roy chuckled, patting my hand condescendingly. "Honey, maybe it's time to focus on more realistic goals. The country club is always looking for event planners." "I appreciate the suggestion," I said quietly, cutting into my untouched salmon. The familiar burn of humiliation crept up my neck. Virginia dabbed her lips with a napkin. "Dear, there's no shame in admitting when something isn't working. We all have our limitations." I watched Theodore check his phone for the 3rd time, his forehead creasing slightly. Something was off. He'd been making these subtle gestures all evening, checking his watch, exchanging glances with Roy. "Did you see the Matthews' new summer house?" Chiara continued, steering the conversation back to familiar territory. 12 bedrooms, though I suppose that's modest compared to our Hampton estate. I remembered when I first met Roy at a coffee shop downtown. He was different then, charming, interested in my dreams. He talked about building something together. Now he sat here, nodding along as his family reduced me to a cautionary tale. "Maria," Theodore's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. "Pass the salt, would you?" As I reached for it, his phone buzzed again. This time he stood abruptly. "Excuse me, I need to take this." The conversation lulled enough for me to hear snippets through the dining room door. Impossible. No, the numbers can't be right. Check again." Roy's expression flickered with concern, but he quickly masked it. "More wine, everyone?" I noticed Alyssa, Chiara's daughter, watching her grandfather with the same curiosity I felt. Smart kid. She caught my eye and gave me a small smile, the only genuine one I'd seen all evening. Theodore returned, his complexion slightly pale. "Where were we? Ah, yes, Roy's deal. Tell them about the Johnson merger, son." But something in his voice had changed. The unshakable Theodore Ward sounded nervous. After dinner, I lingered in the kitchen, helping the housekeeper despite Virginia's protests that it wasn't necessary. My phone buzzed, a message from Riley, my best friend and tech consultant. "Holy shit, check your email now." I excused myself to the powder room and opened the attachment. My hands trembled as I read the confidential financial report. Ward Holdings, the family's century-old empire, was hemorrhaging money. Their liquidity ratio was critical. Behind the mansion, the parties and the condescending smiles, they were months away from potential bankruptcy. Another message from Riley. "They're trying to keep it quiet. Only top-level executives know." I stared at my reflection in the gilded mirror, my mind racing. For 3 years, I'd smiled through their jabs while secretly building my company into something bigger than they could imagine. Now, fate had handed me the perfect opportunity. "Maria," Roy's voice carried through the door. "Mother's serving dessert. Don't be rude." I took a deep breath, tucked my phone away, and opened the door. "Coming, dear." Roy wrapped an arm around my waist, leading me back to the dining room. "Try to participate more, okay? You're so quiet lately. People will think you're ungrateful. I leaned into him, playing my part. Of course, I'm just tired from working on my little online thing. He laughed, exactly as I knew he would. But for the first time, I didn't feel the sting. Instead, I felt something else. The beginning of a plan. My phone buzzed again in my clutch. Another message from Riley. There's more. Call me when you're alone. This is bigger than we thought. 7 figures? Riley nearly choked on her coffee. Maria, you've been holding out on me. We sat in my home office, far from Roy's prying eyes. Spreadsheets covered my monitors. Ward Holdings' financial statements on one screen, my company's growth metrics on another. I didn't want anyone to know, I said, pulling up another document. Especially not the family. Look at this. Their Asia-Pacific division is bleeding money, Riley whistled. And they have no idea you're making this kind of cash? Roy thinks I made $30,000 last year. I let him believe it. I leaned back in my chair. He's too busy bragging about his own deals to notice the statements. My phone lit up. Angel, my lawyer, calling right on schedule. Tell me you have good news, I answered. Better than good, Angel's voice crackled through the speaker. The shell company is set up. Clean, untraceable, exactly as we discussed. Are you sure about this? I glanced at the family photo on my desk, Roy and I on our wedding day. Absolutely sure. Then I'll start approaching their board members, quietly, of course. After hanging up, Riley spun in her chair. You know, most people just get divorced. This isn't about revenge, I lied. It's about opportunity. Right, she smirked. And the fact that you'll essentially become their boss has nothing to do with it. Before I could respond, I heard the front door open. Roy was home early. Quick, I whispered, closing the financial documents. Pull up that small business website we used as cover. Roy appeared in the doorway just as my screen changed. Still playing entrepreneur? He asked, loosening his tie. Just finishing up, I smiled. How was your day? Amazing. Dad closed another deal. We should celebrate. Dinner at the club. I stood, straightening my blouse. Actually, I have a client meeting. At this hour? He frowned. Since when do you have meetings? Since my little business started growing, I said sweetly. Don't wait up. The meeting wasn't with a client. Instead, I found myself in a sleek downtown office, sitting across from 3 Ward Holdings board members. Angel had arranged everything. Ms. Maria, the oldest member, leaned forward. Your offer is substantial. 51% ownership, Angel confirmed. Full voting rights, more than fair, given the company's current position. Theodore won't like this, another member warned. I kept my voice steady. Theodore doesn't need to know who's buying. Not yet. They exchanged glances. I could see the wheels turning, a mystery investor offering a lifeline when they desperately needed one. The paperwork is ready, Angel added, and the funds are in escrow. 2 hours later, I sat in my car, hands shaking slightly. 3 signatures. That's all it had taken to set everything in motion. My phone buzzed. Roy again. Where are you? Father's here. He wants to discuss something important. I drove home quickly, curious about what Theodore had to say. When I walked in, they were in Roy's study, doors closed. I pressed closer, listening. Mystery investor. Theodore's voice was strained. We might have to accept their terms. But 51%? Roy sounded shocked. Father, that's control of the company. We don't have a choice, Theodore snapped. The banks are circling. This investor, whoever they are, is our only option. I stepped back, composing myself, then walked loudly past the door to announce my presence. Maria, Roy called out, you're late. How was your meeting? Productive, I smiled. Very productive. Theodore barely nodded at me, too preoccupied with his phone. He looked older somehow, worried lines creasing his forehead. I should go, he said abruptly. Roy, we'll discuss this more tomorrow. After he left, Roy poured himself a drink. "Rough day?" "Seems like it," I said carefully. "Everything okay at work?" "Just business stuff," he waved dismissively. "Nothing you'd understand. How's your little website coming along?" I thought about the signed contracts in Angel's office, about the millions I'd invested, about the power I now held over their entire empire. "Oh, I shrugged. "Just taking it one day at a time." Roy patted my head like I was a child. "That's my girl. Small steps." My phone buzzed again, Angel confirming the final paperwork would be filed tomorrow. Soon, very soon, they'd all know exactly how small my steps had been. "I'm going to bed," I announced. "Coming?" "Later," Roy mumbled, already lost in his own thoughts. I climbed the stairs alone, smiling to myself. Let him worry about mystery investors. Let them all worry. The real shock was still to come. "So, Maria," Tiara's voice dripped with false sweetness, "tell us more about this exciting website of yours. Are you still teaching people how to use Facebook?" Another family dinner. The air felt heavier tonight. Theodore kept checking his phone. Virginia's smile seemed forced, and Roy couldn't stop fidgeting with his wedding ring. But Chiara, oblivious to the tension, continued her favourite sport, Maria baiting. "Actually," I started, "we've expanded quite a bit." "Oh!" Chiara interrupted, clapping her hands. "Are you selling cookies now? Roy mentioned something about an online store." The table erupted in practised laughter. Even the housekeeper smirked while serving the main course. "No cookies," I said quietly. "We provide digital marketing strategies for—" "Speaking of cookies," Roy jumped in, "remember when Maria tried to bring homemade ones to the country club Christmas party? What a disaster." Virginia touched her pearls delicately. "Oh dear, yes, the ladies still talk about that incident." I gripped my fork tighter, remembering how they'd mocked my attempt to fit in, to contribute something personal rather than store-bought. "At least she's trying," Theodore muttered, his eyes still glued to his phone. "Roy, we need to discuss that matter after dinner." Chiara wouldn't let up. "Trying is one thing, but really, Maria, it's time to face reality. These little online projects never amount to anything. Remember my friend Patricia? She tried selling jewellery on the internet. Now she's back living with her parents." "I'm actually doing quite well," I said, my voice stronger now. "Last month alone—" "Honey," Roy cut me off, patting my hand, "nobody wants to hear about click rates over dinner. Why don't you tell them about the new curtains you picked for the sunroom?" The familiar burn of humiliation crept up my neck. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "Excuse me, I barely made it to the powder room before the tears came. Not sad tears, angry ones. Tears of frustration knowing that in less than 24 hours I could destroy them all with a single phone call. But still, their words cut deep. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. "Go away, Roy," I called out, wiping my eyes. "It's Alyssa," a young voice replied. I opened the door to find Chiara's 12-year-old daughter standing there, holding a glass of water. "I thought you might need this," she said, offering the glass. "Mom can be intense." I accepted it with a grateful smile. "Thanks, kiddo." "I googled you, Alyssa said quietly, glancing back to ensure no one was listening. "Your company, the real one, not the fake website you show them. You're kind of amazing." I froze. "Alyssa, don't worry," she grinned. "I won't tell. But I saw your interview in Digital Business Monthly, the one where you're photographed from behind. That was clever." "Smart kid. Too smart for this family." "Why don't you tell them," she asked, "about how successful you really are?" I leaned against the sink, considering her question. Sometimes it's better to be underestimated." Alyssa nodded sagely. "Like in chess, let them think they're winning until they're not." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Angel's message made my heart skip. "It's done. All signatures confirmed. You now own 51% of Ward Holdings. Call me." "Maria!" Roy's voice boomed from the dining room. "Stop hiding and come back to dinner." Alyssa rolled her eyes. "Uncle Roy can be such a—" "Language," I warned, but couldn't help smiling. "I was going to say dinosaur," she smirked. "Like all of them, living in the past, thinking they're better than everyone else." I squeezed her shoulder. "You're different, Alyssa. Don't let them change that." We returned to the dining room where Kiara was mid-story about someone else's failed business venture. "There you are," Roy frowned. "You're being rude to our family." I sat down, suddenly calm. Let them have their jokes. Let them bask in their imagined superiority. In less than 24 hours, their whole world would turn upside down. "I'm sorry," I said sweetly. "Please, Kiara, continue your story." "Well, as I was saying," she preened, "some people just aren't cut out for success. They should stick to what they know." Across the table, Alyssa caught my eye and mimicked a chess piece tipping over. I bit back a smile. My phone buzzed again. "Angel. Board meeting scheduled for tomorrow. Ready to show your hand." I typed back a single word. "Ready." "What are you smiling about?" Roy demanded. I looked around the table, at Theodore's worried frown, Virginia's forced dignity, Kiara's smug smile, and Roy's entitled scowl. "Oh, nothing," I said, "just thinking about tomorrow." "Sign here," Angel said, sliding the final document across her desk. "And here, one more on the last page." My hand didn't shake as I signed. 3 years of condescension had steadied it perfectly. "Congratulations," she smiled, checking her watch. "As of 9 a.m, you officially own Ward Holdings. The board notification goes out in exactly 1 hour." I stood by the window of her downtown office, watching the morning traffic below. "Has Theodore arrived at work yet?" "His assistant confirmed he's in his office," Angel nodded. "Would you like me to patch through the video feed from the boardroom?" I settled into a leather chair as Angel pulled up the security feed on her laptop. Theodore sat at the head of the table, scrolling through his phone. Board members filed in slowly, none meeting his eyes. The formal notice should hit his inbox now. On screen, Theodore's phone lit up. We watched as he read, his face draining of colour. He stood abruptly, loosening his tie. "Play the audio," I whispered. "Impossible," Theodore's voice crackled through the speaker. "Who authorised this?" "It's all legal, Theodore," one board member said quietly. "The paperwork is ironclad." "But who?" Theodore slammed his hand on the table. "Who's behind this?" "The investor wishes to remain anonymous for now," another member explained. "But they've assured us no immediate changes to day-to-day operations." My phone buzzed. Roy calling. I declined it. "He's probably just heard," Angel mused. "Theodore must have called him." Right on cue, Roy burst into the boardroom on screen. "Father, what's happening?" I turned off the feed. "That's enough for now. Is everything else in place?" Angel handed me a folder. "New signatory rights, voting procedures, everything you need. You can reveal yourself whenever you're ready." I drove home slowly, savouring the moment. Roy's car wasn't in the driveway, still at the office, probably having a meltdown with Theodore. Inside, I changed into workout clothes and headed to my home gym. Might as well look busy when the storm hit. The front door slammed an hour later. "Maria!" I kept running on the treadmill as Roy stormed in, his face red. "Where have you been? I've called 6 times." "Working out," I gestured to the treadmill. "What's wrong?" "Everything." He ran his hands through his hair. "Some mystery investor just bought controlling interest in our company. Father's losing his mind. The board won't tell us who it is." I slowed the treadmill to a walk. "That sounds serious." "Serious?" He laughed hysterically. "It's a disaster. This investor could destroy everything we've built." Or save it, I thought, remembering the company's dire financial statements. "I'm sure your father will figure something out," I said, toweling off. "He always does." "You don't understand," Roy snapped. "Of course you don't. This is big business, Maria, not some little website." I bit back a retort. Soon enough, he'd understand exactly how much I comprehended about big business. My phone buzzed. Riley this time. Just saw the Business Wire announcement. You actually did it, you absolute queen. Who's that? Roy demanded. Just a client, I said smoothly. Speaking of work, I have a video call in 10 minutes. Seriously? Our family is in crisis and you're worried about your little social media projects. I headed for my office. We all have priorities, Roy. You've been different lately, he called after me. Cold, distant. What's going on with you? I turned, studying his face, the entitled frown, the accusatory stare. 3 years ago, I'd found it charming. Now it just looked small. Nothing's going on, I smiled. You'll know soon enough. I closed my office door on his confused expression and dialed Angel. The vultures are circling, she reported. 3 business newspapers have called, asking about the takeover. Theodore's secretary says he's cancelled all meetings for the week. Perfect, I said, pulling up my calendar. Schedule the reveal for Friday's family dinner. I want everyone there. Dramatic, Angel chuckled. I'll have the papers ready. Are you sure about this timing? Through the door I could hear Roy on the phone, probably with Theodore, his voice rising in panic. I've waited 3 years, I said quietly. I can wait 3 more days. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and pulled up Ward Holdings' internal system, my new access codes already working perfectly. Departments, budgets, personnel files, everything they'd never thought I'd see. A message popped up from Alyssa. Just heard Uncle Roy yelling at Grandpa on the phone. Something big happening. I smiled, typing back. You might want to come to dinner on Friday. Should be interesting. Checkmate, she replied. Almost, I wrote. Very almost. The Ward family mansion loomed before me as I pulled up in my Tesla, a recent purchase I'd kept hidden in a downtown garage. Angel's car followed close behind, right on schedule. Ready? She asked, briefcase in hand. I smoothed down my black Armani suit. Another secret indulgence. Born ready. Inside, voices drifted from the dining room. Everyone was already seated. Perfect. Maria, Roy called out. Is that you? You're late, and Father has important business to discuss. I paused in the hallway, taking a deep breath. Coming, dear. I brought a colleague. Now isn't the time for... Roy's voice died as Angel and I entered the room. Theodore sat at the head of the table, papers scattered before him. Virginia clutched her wine glass too tightly. Kiara was mid-eye roll, probably at my audacity to bring a guest. What's she doing here? Kiara pointed at Angel. This is a family dinner. Actually, Angel smiled, setting her briefcase on the table. I'm here in a professional capacity. Theodore's face darkened. You're the lawyer who filed the takeover papers. Guilty as charged, Angel said, pulling out documents. What is this? Roy stood, looking between Angel and me. Maria, what's going on? I took my usual seat, Angel standing behind me. Please, everyone, let's discuss this civilly. Theodore, you were about to tell the family about the new majority shareholder. Theodore's hands trembled slightly. How did you know about the mystery investor? I finished for him. I know quite a bit about it, actually. Chiara laughed nervously. What would you know about corporate takeovers? You can barely manage a Facebook page. Funny you should mention management, I said, nodding to Angel. She began distributing documents around the table. No, Theodore whispered, scanning the first page. This is impossible. Roy grabbed his copy. What? What's impossible? The shell company that purchased 51% of Ward Holdings, I said clearly, watching their faces. I own it. Silence crashed over the room. Even the housekeeper froze mid-pour. You, Chiara sputtered. This is a joke, right? Your little website? Roy laughed, but it sounded hollow. You expect us to believe my little website cleared 8 figures last year? I cut him off. While you were all making jokes about cookies and Facebook, I built an empire, one that's now large enough to buy controlling interest in yours. Virginia reached for her pearls. Theodore, do something. It's done, Virginia. Theodore said quietly, still staring at the papers. She owns us. Not quite, I corrected. I saved you. Check the books. You were 3 months from bankruptcy. I prevented that. You're welcome. Roy's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. You went behind my back? Your own husband? Like you went behind mine every time you laughed at my ambitions? I asked softly. Every time you dismissed my work? Every time you treated me like a charity case? This is outrageous. Chiara stood, her chair scraping back. We're your family. No, I said. You're my husband's family, and you never let me forget it. From the corner, Alyssa watched with barely concealed delight. She caught my eye and gave a tiny thumbs up. The board meeting on Monday will formalise everything, Angel explained professionally. Maria will assume her role as a majority shareholder and board chair. Theodore seemed to age years in minutes. You planned this all along. No, I said honestly. I planned to succeed despite you all. The opportunity to buy Ward Holdings was just karma. Roy slumped in his chair. All those nights you were working late. I was working late, building something real, something you could have been part of if you'd bothered to look past your own prejudices. Virginia dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. This will ruin us socially. Only if people find out you've been rescued by the woman you ridiculed, I pointed out. I'm happy to keep that quiet, for now. What do you want? Theodore asked hoarsely. Want? I smiled. I have what I want. Control of the company, a seat at the table, and the pleasure of watching you all realise just how wrong you've been. Chiara grabbed her purse. This is insane. I'm leaving. Sit down, I said quietly. We haven't discussed the new management structure yet. You'll want to hear this part. She sat. Roy reached for my hand. Darling, we can talk about this. I pulled away. No, Roy. We're done talking. Now we're doing business. Angel opened her briefcase again. Shall we begin? I looked around the table at their shocked faces, the mighty Wards, finally silenced. Yes, I said. Let's begin. You can't do this, Ciara slammed her hand on the table. I've run the Asia-Pacific division for 5 years. Into the ground, Angel corrected, sliding another document forward. The numbers don't lie. These changes are effective immediately, I continued. Theodore will step down as CEO, remaining only as a consultant. Ciara, you're being reassigned to regional sales. Regional sales? She practically shrieked. That's entry level. Consider it a fresh start, I said calmly. A chance to learn the business properly this time. Roy hadn't spoken for several minutes, just staring at his water glass like it held answers. Virginia had progressed from dabbing tears to openly sobbing. You're destroying everything my father built, Theodore growled. No, I met his gaze. I'm saving everything you nearly lost. The company's stock has dropped 60% under your leadership. Client relationships are in shambles. The only thing holding it together was your family name, and that's not enough anymore. Alyssa, who'd been quietly watching from her seat, spoke up. Is that why you cancelled my equestrian lessons last month, Mum? Because we're broke? Chiara flushed. Alyssa, be quiet. The company will undergo a complete restructuring, Angel continued professionally. New department heads, new procedures, new accountability measures. And what about me? Roy finally spoke, his voice hard. Planning to demote your husband too? I took a slow sip of water. That depends entirely on you, Roy. Are you ready to actually work for your position? He stood so quickly his chair toppled backward. Work for it. I've given everything to this company. No, I corrected. You've taken everything from this company. There's a difference. How dare you? Virginia found her voice. After everything we've given you... Given me? I laughed. Let's review what you've given me. 3 years of mockery, constant belittlement, public humiliation at every family event. We accepted you, Chiara shot back. No, you tolerated me. There's a difference there too. Theodore rubbed his temples. What do you really want, Maria? Money? Power? Name your price. I already have money, I said quietly. More than you know. As for power, I gestured to the papers before them. I already have that too. You've gone mad, Roy declared, power-hungry and delusional. Actually, Alyssa piped up again, I think she's brilliant. Alyssa, Kiara snapped. What? She is! While everyone was making fun of her, she built something huge, and now she owns your company. That's like total boss move. I couldn't help smiling. Thank you, Alyssa. This is a nightmare, Virginia moaned. What will people say? They'll say whatever we tell them, I replied. I'm happy to keep this transition quiet, maintain the family's public image, but that courtesy depends entirely on your cooperation. Roy laughed bitterly. Blackmail now? Business, I corrected. Something you claim to understand. Angel cleared her throat. The press release goes out Monday morning. We can frame this as a mutual decision, a strategic partnership. Or it can be what it really is, I finished. A hostile takeover after years of mismanagement. The room fell silent again. Theodore stared at his hands. Kiara's mascara had started to run. Virginia looked like she might faint. I'll need your office cleared by Monday, I told Theodore. He aged 10 years before my eyes. My office? You can use one of the smaller ones on the 3rd floor for your consulting work. Roy suddenly grabbed his keys. I need air. Roy, I called after him. We're not finished here. Oh, we're finished, he snarled, turning back. You've made that perfectly clear. I'll have my lawyer contact yours about divorce proceedings. I felt a twinge in my chest, but kept my face neutral. If that's your choice. He stormed out, the front door slamming behind him. Well, Ciara stood, gathering her things. I hope you're happy. You've torn this family apart. No, Kiara. Your family's superiority complex did that long ago. I just exposed it. Mom, Alyssa said suddenly. Can I stay here tonight? I want to talk business with Aunt Maria. Kiara looked like she'd been slapped. Without another word, she grabbed her daughter's arm and left. Theodore and Virginia followed shortly after, leaving me alone with Angel. That went well, she said dryly. I stared at the empty chairs, the half-eaten dinner, the scattered papers. Did it? You got everything you wanted. Did I? Angel squeezed my shoulder. Having second thoughts? I picked up Roy's discarded wedding ring. He must have slipped it off before leaving. No, I said firmly. No second thoughts. Just consequences. Want company tonight? I shook my head. No, I need to get used to this. The quiet, the aftermath. After Angel left, I sat alone in the dining room, surrounded by the debris of the Ward family's perfect world. My phone buzzed. A text from Alyssa. That was epic. Don't let them make you feel bad. You're my hero. I smiled despite everything. At least someone understood. Maria, my assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Roy's here to see you. I glanced at the clock, exactly 2 weeks since the revelation dinner. Send him in. Roy entered my new office, Theodore's old one, looking dishevelled. His usual perfectly pressed suit was wrinkled, his hair unkempt. Nice view, he said, gesturing to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Father always loved this office. I know, that's why I took it. I kept typing, not looking up. What do you want, Roy? He sank into a chair. I've been thinking maybe we acted hastily. We? About the divorce, about everything. He leaned forward. We could still make this work. Together. Think about it, with your business acumen and my connections. I finally met his eyes. Interesting timing. Right after the quarterly reports showed a 15% increase under my leadership. He flushed. That's not fair. I'm trying here. No, you're adapting. There's a difference. I stood, walking to the window. How's the apartment hunting going? It's challenging. Look, Maria, I know I made mistakes. Mistakes? I turned sharply. Is that what we're calling years of systematic belittlement now? I was wrong. He stood too. Is that what you want to hear? I was wrong about you, about your capabilities, but I'm man enough to admit it. Man enough, I laughed. 2 weeks ago, you called me a power-hungry psychopath. What changed? Oh, right, the stock price. My phone buzzed. Kiara's name flashing on the screen. I declined the call. She's been trying to reach you, Roy said. Everyone has. I know. Theodore left 6 voicemails yesterday about family loyalty and reasonable compromises. Can you blame them? You've upended everything. No, I corrected. I fixed everything. The Asia-Pacific division is already recovering under new management. Client confidence is up. Even the board approves of the changes. Roy ran his hands through his hair. And what about us? Our marriage? Our marriage died long before I bought the company, I said quietly. You just didn't notice because you were too busy looking down at me. I loved you. No, you loved the idea of me. The pretty wife from humble beginnings who knew her place. The moment I outgrew that role, you checked out. My assistant buzzed again. Your interview with Business Weekly is in 10 minutes. Thanks, Sarah. I gathered my papers. We're done here, Roy. The divorce papers are with Angel. Sign them. Maria, please. Security will show you out. I pressed the intercom. Sarah, please call escort services for Mr. Ward. He straightened his jacket, a flash of the old Roy emerging. You'll regret this. Pushing away family. They were never my family. You made sure of that. After he left, I took a moment to compose myself before the interview. My phone buzzed again. Alyssa this time. Mom's crying in her new office. Regional sales is beneath her dignity, apparently. I smiled despite myself. How's she really doing? Actually selling stuff for the first time in her life. It's hilarious. Also, can we do lunch next week? I have questions about digital marketing. Absolutely. Don't tell your mother. Duh. Oh, and Grandpa's started drinking at lunch. Just FYI, I sighed. Thanks for the intel, kiddo. The interview went smoothly. I kept my answers professional, focusing on the company's turnaround rather than the family drama. The reporter seemed disappointed. But surely there's more to the story, she pressed. A mysterious investor revealed to be the CEO's daughter-in-law. The story, I said firmly, is about business transformation, not personal relationships. After she left, Riley called. Just saw the stock ticker. You're crushing it. The company was always solid, I replied. It just needed proper management. And speaking of management, guess who just applied for a junior position? No. Yes, Xiara's resume landed this morning. Want me to accidentally delete it? I thought for a moment. No, let her interview. Let her earn something for once. You're nicer than I'd be. Looking out over the city, I watched the sunset paint the buildings gold. Not nice, strategic. She needs to learn. They all do. And Roy, I heard he came crawling back. He tried. I touched my bare ring finger. Some things can't be fixed with money or power. You okay? I considered the question, watching my reflection in the window. Designer suit, corner office, complete control. I'm exactly where I should be. My phone buzzed one last time, another voicemail from Theodore. I deleted it without listening. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Delete it, Riley urged, sprawled across my office couch. You don't need to keep torturing yourself. I stared at my phone, thumb hovering over Roy's old voicemail. The timestamp showed 3 years ago, the night after that infamous cookie incident at the country club. You're right, I said, but didn't press delete. Play it one last time if you need to, Riley suggested. Then let it go. I hit play, setting it on speaker. Maria, you've embarrassed me again. Homemade cookies at the club? Mother was mortified. Sometimes I wonder if you'll ever understand our world. Call me when you're ready to apologize. Riley made a gagging sound. What did you ever see in him? Before I could answer, my assistant buzzed. Kiara's here for her quarterly review. Send her in. Kiara entered, different from the polished socialite she'd been 6 months ago. Her designer clothes were replaced with practical business wear, her attitude notably subdued. Sales figures, she said. placing a folder on my desk. Up 12% in my region. Impressive, I noted, scanning the numbers. Your client retention rate is particularly strong. I actually enjoy the work, she admitted, looking pained. Building relationships, solving problems. It's satisfying. More satisfying than cocktail parties and charity galas. She smiled slightly. Surprisingly, yes. Good, keep this up, and we'll discuss expanding your territory next quarter. After she left, Riley whistled. That was almost civil. She's learning, they all are. I picked up my phone again, looking at the voicemail. Even Theodore sent a congratulatory note after the merger announcement. Speaking of announcements, Riley grinned. Have you seen today's Business Weekly? She tossed the magazine on my desk. My company's latest acquisition, a major tech firm, made the cover. The photo showed me clearly this time, no more hiding in shadows. The mysterious Maria reveals all, Riley read dramatically. From ridiculed outsider to business powerhouse. Love it. My phone buzzed. Alyssa calling. Hey, superstar, she said when I answered. Saw the magazine. Mum's pretending to be annoyed, but I caught her showing it to her sales team. How's the internship going? Amazing. Your digital team is teaching me so much. Also, Mum actually apologized yesterday, like a real apology, not her usual backhanded stuff. Progress? I smiled. Oh, and heads up, Dad's engaged. Some socialite from Newport, thought you should know. I felt nothing, no pain, no regret. Good for him. After hanging up, I finally looked at Roy's voicemail again. Do it, Riley encouraged. It's time. I pressed delete. The message disappeared, taking the last remnant of my old life with it. Feel better? Riley asked. Feel free, I corrected. My assistant buzzed again. Your 4:00 is here. The startup founders. Send them in. 2 young women entered, clutching business plans and looking nervous, exactly as I had once looked pitching to investors. Ladies, I gestured to the chairs. I hear you have an interesting proposition. Yes, the younger one stammered, though some investors said we're too inexperienced. Tell me anyway, I interrupted. Sometimes the best ideas come from unexpected places. They shared a hopeful glance, spreading their materials across my desk. We'll need about an hour, Riley stood. Dinner after? Can't. Mentoring session with Alyssa's Young Entrepreneurs Club. Look at you, Riley smirked. Building empires and lifting others up. Who'd have thought? After she left, I turned back to the nervous founders. Now, show me what everyone else was too blind to see. As they began their presentation, I caught my reflection in the window, confident, powerful, at peace. No more fake smiles or silent fury. No more pretending to be less to make others feel more. The young women's enthusiasm reminded me of myself, of dreams dismissed and potential denied. But unlike the wards, I'd never make the mistake of underestimating hunger and determination. My phone buzzed one final time, Theodore's name flashing. Once that would have filled me with dread. Now it was just another business call. Sorry, I told the founders, declining it. You have my full attention. They beamed, launching into their pitch with renewed confidence. Outside my office, the city sparkled in the fading light. Somewhere out there, the wards were adapting to their new reality. Chiara was learning humility through honest work. Theodore was accepting his reduced role. Roy was building a new life with someone else. And me, I was exactly where I belonged. Not as the outsider they'd mocked, but as the force they'd never seen coming. So, I smiled at the hopeful founders. Tell me about your dreams.